What's going on, moms and dads? You are listening to the latest episode of the Fade You podcast, recording on Thursday, May 18th. Easy for me to say. Welcome, everyone. Matt here, Kmart here, Chris Duke here, Joe here. No guest today, but we do have a good show for you. We're going to talk about the teams we love to hate, and then we're going to unveil something exciting we have coming up for June, a little contest for all of our loyal followers who we very much appreciate and are glad you're here hanging out with us on episode 206. Fade You Podcast is a sports betting show for the everyday bettor. Whether you're a total degen, betting on everything going on right now, or you're just looking for a little action, I'm glad you're here checking out our show. Whether you're brand new or have been rolling with us for a while, we love your support. Make sure you are following the pod, subscribing to that, liking the YouTube, and subscribing to the YouTube channel if you're finding us on YouTube and seeing our beautiful faces and Chris Duke's mustache. Chris, still going strong there.
Yeah, I just got to clean the beard up again, so I just have the stash only. But it's
how long are we rolling with that?
I think it's probably coming up on a month now. Definitely been a few weeks. Oh, it was the day that I fucking miraculously hit that under 220 and a half with the heat and something that landed 220. I was like, it must be the stash or whatever day that was for 1K.
All right. So a little superstitious. We're going to have a short episode today so that the Laker fans here can go watch their Lakers.
The LeBron fans?
Lakers.
Yeah.
I love LeBron. He's the best player
Kmart,
ever.
Yeah. Kmart's Lakers. Chris Duke's Los Angeles Lakers. Because we know how Chris feels about fandom. But that's another pod. Actually, it's kind of this pod because we're going to talk about the teams, the players, the fan bases that we absolutely cannot stand. And I have a really interesting question I want to pose to the dads on hatred here. So we're going to get real negative coming up here on the pod. Does anybody want to start? We've been talking about doing this episode for a while. I mean, all we do in our text is talk about everything we hate. So we figured let's make a pod out of it.
And we hate each other.
No,
we do hate each other sometimes.
We love each other. We love each other. I'll start it off only because she was recently on our pod, which is the queen, and it's her team. I think the Yankees. I think we could all say, fuck the New York Yankees. We hate them.
I actually have a New York Yankees sweatshirt somewhere on my bed.
Really?
Disgusting.
What's the story there, Kmart?
When I was in New York, I don't know. I used to be a closeted Yankees fan. I liked Jeter growing up, but once they got A-Rod, I'd probably have to agree with Joe.
That's funny.
See, and I
hated him growing up.
I hated Jeter as well. I thought he was a douchebag and overrated.
Yeah. Yeah, Yankees were at the top of the list.
And the worst fan base in probably almost all of sports. They're just scumbags. They dress all stupid and they're just terrible. Like
they're so funny though outside the games. Those
27 championships. Yeah, they're always like talking about how many championships they got. It's like fucking fuck them, man.
Because they're going to the Hamptons after the game.
Ugh.
Do you guys think so? We're a California show. Do you think that feeling is pretty national outside of Yankees fans? Do you think it's a pretty nationally prevailing opinion?
For sure in the Northeast.
Well, because some of those fuckers over there probably hate them more than we do. Like if you go to Boston, I mean, it's easy for us to say, yeah, fuck the Yankees, but that's where real fuck the Yankees lives. Right, that's 100+ years of fuck the Yankees.
I just remember one of the best things we'll ever. This is like, as Joe would say, irregardless of fandom, the greatest thing arguably we're ever gonna see is the Yankees blow a 3-0 lead to the Boston Red Sox. Like as a kid, with with the Red Sox with that curse of the babe to do that, I just remember wishing that.
So we were in high school. Yeah, that's a once in a lifetimer right there. Is when you can get a rivalry like that where that shit happens.
So
I'm also curious. I'm curious if Yankees hatred stops at a certain age because at the end of the day, they've won one World Series in the last 23 years.
Matt, you
right?
fucking hit the nail on the head. I was gonna say that. I said I have no longer have like much hatred. The hate was because as a Dodger fan, I'm seeing Jared, Jeter win 5 rings. They haven't done shit. Like, who gives a shit if they get one? It's the first, right? So it's like that. As a kid, as a child, you hate things because you want to be the winner, right? You see Brady winning all this, like, fuck those guys, man. Why can't we do that? But now, as an adult, I've kind of lost the hatred for New York and the Yankees. But
yeah, but I also think that a lot of kids were raised by parents who fucking despise the Yankees and kind of instilled that into them. So even though the Yankees kind of aren't that good anymore or like as dominant as they once were, there's still a lot of people that hate those motherfuckers. For me, it's the fan base. They're just scumbags. And yeah, they're passionate, but God, I fucking can't stand them.
I like what Kmart said too, that it really peaked when they got A-Rod, because A-Rod was already so fucking unlikable.
Controversial.
And so to put it lightly. And so when he became a fucking Yankee at the peak of all that, it was like, oh my God, now I hate him even more. Kyle, is that kind of what you were thinking about when you brought up that idiot?
Maybe not so much a little bit, but it was just all the hype that went around his name, just the arrogance he had. And I mean, I think they just won with him there, but
they did.
It was just kind of amazing to, Yankees always would have, kind of like the Dodgers the past 5 years, have a really good regular season and then fall on their fucking faces in the playoffs. And A-Rod was always like, where is he? He's not even batting 200. So it to go after the show, that became a love-hate relationship because it was just funny. Like, there was really no reason to hate the Yankees because you knew they weren't going to win anything, when they had A-Rod at a certain point, because he was a has-been.
And I think a lot of it too, I think is, I mean, the Dodgers are falling into the same this, and the Padres, they're just willing to spend a fucking $1 trillion to win.
That's it. Yeah.
And you look at teams like the Dodgers, which is also on my list, and we can talk about them too. Fuck the Dodgers. Not only because I'm a Giants fan, but because of their, willingness to spend $1 billion to fucking try and win, and only winning one fake championship that doesn't count. Since what was the last time they won? 88 or some shit?
Well, it's the George Steinbrenner Yankees because A-Rod was just the latest in this almost decade-long run of them just signing the top free agent every year, right? They just poached whoever was available from any team. And when you've seen teams repeat that, like, people don't take the Padres seriously because that's what they've tried to do. And then the Dodgers have done that for the last few years. I mean, the Lakers have done this, a lot historically too. And you look at those teams, what do they have in common? A lot of people love to hate them. So Vegas Golden Knights, we'll talk about them in a little bit. When one team tries to just poach all the all-stars, a lot of fans of other teams are going to despise that and hate that. So the Yankees, I mean, in our lives, are probably the biggest offender of that. And they did it a couple of years ago with Garrett Cole, and it has worked out for them, right?
I mean, yeah, and then you got like CC Sabathia. I mean, there's a million fucking guys that they would try to get and win, and they didn't. So that was fun.
When they got Giambi from the A's. They got I mean, so many pitchers too over the years. Sabathia is a great example. And they swing and miss CC a lot too.
Yeah.
All right. All right. Yankees. That's an easy one. Kmart, you had a few. You want to go? Let's get a good Kmart rant here at the 9-minute mark.
Oh God. Perfect. My favorite number. I mean, who would you guys guess is my number one?
Cowboys.
No, but a team from the same state that has a shitty color of orange.
Yeah,
Ricky Fowler.
So I mean, it might surprise me. Like my top 5, and like a lot of these teams are probably just on the outside of it. But like,
if Texas isn't your number one, then you're full of shit.
No, we'll get there. But number 5 is Boston Celtics. Like, fuck Boston. If we did this,
that's fair.
15 years ago, they'd probably be number 1. Number 4, I forget who
Kind
it
of
was.
funny you mentioned that because I've talked to a lot of SoCal guys. I even golfed with a guy yesterday. I was like, fuck the Celtics. I've met so many. I was like, I just forget the hatred for them because especially the older guys who grew up with Magic and Bird going at it, like they fucking hated them. And I'm like you said, Kmart, growing up, the Lakers, we didn't care about the Celtics because they never got there. They were just beating other teams. So it wasn't that much hatred.
Kind of like UCLA basketball in the 70s. It's like you beat a rank of 4 teams. Like, cool, good job. Same with the Packers before the NFL. Like, cool. You know, whatever. But yeah, so Seattle, I put Seattle 4 just because of those rivalries, you know, even 10 years ago. Like, that to me kind of became the rivalry over the Rams, apart from what happened last year. But number 3, I got UCLA. And 1 and 2 are really close. But I ended up settling number 2 for Notre Dame. I fucking hate Notre Dame.
Okay. Yeah, that's a good one.
But yeah, number 1 has to be Texas. Like, I don't think I will ever get over that. Like, it still is so haunting. Like
Kyle, that's got to be the worst one in your life. Like, nothing will probably top that in the rest of your life.
Like, 2006. I don't remember. Like, a 20-year-old Kmart, just seeing Vince Young running at you, and you see, God, what's his name? Forrest Buckner or whatever. Not Buckner. I can't remember his damn name. He played for the Bengals, but you just see him break containment. Vince Young just basically walks in like right at me. Right? Frosty Rucker, yeah.
Yeah.
Dude, just terrible. Like man, I remember like being up, or SC being up by 12 with 6:41 left, and my sister looks at me like, "They got this, right?" And I'm like, they got to stop them. Like, they can't allow them to score with over 3 minutes left. And they scored in like a minute and a half. And I'm like, oh, fuck. And then, you know, you feel good. You know, you got Lindell White on 4th and 1. And like, I still watch this shit, and I have no idea how Texas stopped his big ass. But yeah, I mean, you just knew. And then, I don't know, countless 4th down defensive penalties, you know, on the last drive to keep the drive going. And it was just the hardest thing to watch and rewatch as an adult, because you're like, oh, they're gonna do it this time. But for like basically a one-time thing, yeah, I hate Texas for that national championship. And Notre Dame's very close because it's Notre Dame. The only reason they're not number 1 is the fans in South Bend are really nice and really cool. Pleasure to be around. The fans that travel are scum and lowlifes. It's really weird. It makes no sense. They're not Catholic, or maybe they're Joe's Catholic that we can't get into here, you know, that he likes to text about, because they're not good people. Like, it's really bizarre.
I think I put, this is all on my list too. I put SC, Texas, and Notre Dame all in the same pretentious dickhead fan bases group. I hate all 3 like with a passion, because I don't think I hate them. I love to watch them lose. When they lose, makes me so fucking happy, because Texas gets a great recruiting class every year, then shits their pants. SC has just been hilarious to watch because they got all this hype and then they suck. And yeah, dude. I mean, and then Notre Dame, obviously, they're just a joke. So same thing. But yeah, I do love South Bend. South Bend's dope. But I mean, Notre Dame fans in general are just scum. Same thing with SC. And I don't even know why UCLA is even on there. There's not a UCLA fan outside of LA in the entire country.
Like,
nobody
if
gives
I can add one thing
about
to
UCLA.
I mean, I actually agree with Joe. Like, I obviously grew up going to SC home games and a lot of away games at a certain point. I think they've got a little better, but I really can't stand the USC fan base, especially that go to the games, the home games. Like, they don't know shit. They're just sitting there crying about penalties, thinking everything's a PI. I'm just like, fuck, like, understand the game. Like, don't bitch. Like, it just drives me nuts just how uninformed this old USC fan base
is. They're just rich, pretentious dickheads that just fucking slammed a bunch of wine in the parking lot and ate their cheese, and they're like, oh, let's go watch a football game. We're the best in the country. We're going to win.
Yeah. And like, to Joe's point, the New York fan, some of those douchebags. I don't know if they couldn't get into NYU who come over, so they're dressed looking like they came from the Hamptons. And those are the guys where you're like, what are you doing here? Like, this is the wrong state.
And let me tell like a 20-second story. I was at a USC and Fresno State like 4 or 5 years ago, and I'm standing. I'm like in the end zone, maybe like 30 rows up, fucking standing there. I'm yelling when USC's on third down for Fresno State, and so many people around me complained that they said I have to leave my seat or sit the entire time. They said I'm not allowed to stand.
That's ridiculous.
And the fucking security guard came up and like threatened me. He's like, "Oh, yeah, you can't do that. People, you're ruining it for other people." I'm like, "So I can't root for my own team?" And he's like, "No, you're in USC's stadium. You're not allowed to yell like that." And I was like, "What the?"
I mean, as long as you're not cussing, like
I wasn't. No, I was not.
Yeah. Like, God, I would have got
a joke. Just all these pretentious dickheads around me complaining that they're, somebody else is rooting for against their beloved dumbass Trojans and their stupid horse and their dumb sword.
Leave the horse out of it. You can have the sword, but leave the damn horse out of it.
God, that's amazing. I mean, Kmart, there's no way over the rest of your life there's another loss like that. Like, that has to be the worst one in a lifetime.
You could argue Tulane, but it's like it wasn't the national championship. Like, that was almost as pathetic.
And those USC teams were legendary.
That was so sick. I remember looking at, like, watching with my dad, and I'm just like, hey, this looks familiar, right? And then I forget exactly what happened. I think they like kicked a field goal. I was like, why are you kicking for 3 to go up to, like, nothing changes. Like, go for the knockout. And then, but yeah, I mean, that to me, like, I've forgotten about it. Like, no one cares about whatever bowl that was, the Goodyear Cotton Bowl,
Gasparillo Bowl and shit.
Yeah, like,
nobody gives a fuck about that bowl. I'll tell you that.
No,
although I did, because I think I did.
I mean, Tulane did,
so fuck it.
Good for Tulane, and
good for them.
Green wave cock.
Yeah.
All right, Joe, do you want to do another one?
Yeah, I mean, I got a couple of, I don't know if maybe let's just get your guys' input on this. This could go off on a different kind of tangent, but the Chinese and Russian Olympic teams, fuck communism. I fucking hate watching them win in the Olympics.
What's Russia been called the past few Olympics because of their like cheating scandal? Like, what? It's
you can't. They can't represent their country, so they're like athletes
Olympians
that are
from Russia. Athletes from Russia.
Yeah. It's so weird.
It's just so fun. Doesn't matter the sport or whatever it is. Just watching them lose. Not even like I said, same thing. I love watching SC Notre Dame lose. I fucking love watching those motherfuckers lose.
Just rewatch Miracle on loop and just watch the Soviet team lose every time.
If you want to see me get erect, then yeah, throw on Miracle with that fucking Kurt Russell with that speech.
Kurt Brooks.
Oh God.
Yeah. That's another pod. We'll have to do the best coach speeches in sports movie. That's another pod for another day, but that'd be a good one.
But we're not allowed to talk about Notre Dame. Fuck them.
That's no Rudy.
I don't want to.
Fuck Rudy. Rudy can get fucked.
Rudy died in Stranger Things. Fuck Rudy.
All right, let's go Cowboys. Everybody hates the fucking Cowboys. America's team. Fuck my dick.
So here's what I'll say about that. That I think a lot of these teams that we're bringing up fall into a similar category. Like, Joe, you said it about USC. Until last season, they were a joke for a few years. Notre Dame hasn't. I mean, they made a national championship game, but they're not the same as when we grew up. Texas is a
years
joke every year. So the Cowboys, like, I get, it to me, I hate them less than I just find it hilarious when they lose because of their expectations. So I think, do you guys find, like, and Chris, you said it a few minutes ago about the Yankees, like, do you find yourself hating them less as they're no longer like championship contenders? Or is it the same, Joe?
Same. Fuck them.
Yeah, I think it moves more to from the the team to more like you hate those annoying fucks at the bar that are like Cowboys and shit. And it's like, dude, shut the fuck. And they're like, you hear them saying like Super Bowl this year or some dumb shit. It's like, whatever.
Just laugh at him.
Dude, I never, ever want Jerry Jones to die. I want him to live till 178 years old so he can run that team to shit every year. I fucking love it.
Give that guy the elixir of life so he lives forever.
Yeah. Electric, dude.
Yeah, I mean, the Cowboys, right? The Cowboys they're just funny. It's hard to even hate it. It's hard for me to even hate them. It's just they all think they're going to the Super Bowl, like Chris said. They all think they're going to cover the spread every week.
Everybody loves their jerseys, but they're fucking awful. Just dude. The Cowboys are just disgusting.
What else you got, Joe? Because I think that's another one that nationally a lot of people are gonna be able to get behind. Fuck the Cowboys.
This one's kind of an honorable mention on my list. The Raiders, I despised them as a kid because I grew up so close to Oakland and like literally everybody was a Raider fan. But now that they're in Vegas, I actually like them. I root for them actively, mainly because I want to watch Patrick Mahomes lose and Herbert lose and now Russell fucking Wilson lose. So I would say Raiders, but not anymore. I think the Raiders are more likable now than they were when they were in Oakland.
I would say that's more of a fan base hatred because those fans are really annoying.
Dude, yeah, at games, they were just despicable.
And people don't know this that don't live in Southern California, but that's the number one fan base in SoCal. It's the Raiders by a mile, right, Chris? I mean, you grew up down here too. Like they crawl out of the fucking hills when the Raiders, like no one knows where they even come from.
Yeah. They're always more there at the Charger games and for sure. And if they the Rams, there'd be more Raider fans than the Rams too.
But then again, like once Davis died, I knew we were gonna lose the beloved shitty Raiders. Like they're gonna probably improve a little bit. I wanted Mark Davis to live forever. So
Mark Davis might live for Al.
Or Al Davis. Yeah, Al Davis.
I miss Al.
Al was a god at ruining teams, which there was a player on my list of players I hated, and that was Jamarcus Russell's on that list. Only because he was like the second coming when I was in high school, and everybody thought he was going to be a god, and we're like, dude, this guy sucks. And then all the joke, he's just, I just hated him from the start, and I still do. I think he's hilarious.
You want to run through a few more players?
I mean, there's the easy one like LeBron, Tony Romo. I fucking hated him.
He sucks at announcing too.
Cristiano Ronaldo. I fucking hated him. I don't really care about soccer, but he's so good looking and he's like one of the best players. I think it's disgusting that Chris's God gave him everything. He probably has a 10-inch you-know-what. So it's just, I hate guys that in general that are incredibly good looking and are incredible athletes. So yeah, Cristiano Ronaldo. Lance Armstrong, fucking hate him.
Him is one ball.
Even though you have Live Strong.
I do, yeah. Live strong, baby.
Wow.
Ron Artest, hate him.
Meta.
And then a couple more. We'll just go Patrick Reed, Ian Poulter, Dustin Brown, Corey Perry, and then Sidney Crosby. That kind of rounds out my. Jeff Gordon, NASCAR. That rounds out my list of guys I hate.
That's a great list.
Extensive list.
Chris, what were you going to say? You said you had a different way that you were approaching this or thinking about this.
Well, no, I mean, you kind of alluded to it earlier, how, I've kind of changed. I definitely, growing up in LA as a Catholic, a lot of people were really big Notre Dame fans, and we always had down at our local, like, fair, our American Martyrs Fair, they'd have a big-ass fucking 60-inch, and they always played in that weekend of October. It was always the SC Notre Dame game, and I think I was even there for the Bush push and all that shit. So I just remember everyone hating. Yeah, the SC fans were so fucking annoying, and I was on Joe's level of like, and I almost got arrested at a SC game too. They were playing Oregon when Oregon smashed them, and I was talking shit about Daddy's money or yelling. I was being obnoxious, but
I'm sure you didn't.
It was probably not my fault. It was completely Riley's fault or someone else's fault, but no. So I've just grown out of it though, because now, Matt, you said it. I just think it's comical now. Like, it's funny that they still think like every year they're national contenders, and then they go lose to Tulane in the bowl game. So it's just funny. But yeah, some of the players, like Joe said, I was more of a player hater growing up. Like Joe said, those guys that were just like bitches. Like, I remember really disliking Chris Webber, because I would always just make fun of his timeout with no fucking timeouts left and all that. And then he went and was always bitching at the Lakers and shit, and Vlade Divac and all those guys. So it was funny.
Well, so I think, Chris, you kind of alluded to it a minute ago. The one thing that's changed in sports from when we grew up watching sports in the 90s and the early part of the 2000s to now is every league has really embraced the idea of parity. So you don't get those dynasty teams that you grow up hating. Like, there's no Yankees anymore of the late 90s. There's no Detroit Red Wings of the 90s that were just dominant. That Joe, you was like, fuck the Red Wings. Like, how are they good how do they get a new Russian every year and they're just gods, right? Like, that's changed a lot. Every sport has tried to have that, like, an even playing field, so you don't get those, like, I mean, the NBA has had super teams, and yeah, like, people hate. I hate the Warriors. Fuck them. And then, when LeBron went to the Heat, it was fuck them. And so when teams have tried to become that, they become very hateable. But I think that's a really interesting thing to point out too, is that those dynasties from when we were growing up, like the Shaq Kobe Lakers grow up in Northern California. Holy fuck.
Yeah, I think you get more fluid with your hatred, like you said, Matt. You see these teams, like you see Kevin Durant bouncing around, and then you see LeBron bouncing around. It's like, fuck them. So when you see Dirk Nowitzki beating them, it's like, fuck yeah, Dirk kicked his ass. You see him getting swept by Tim Duncan. It's like, fuck yeah, fuck you. So
great point. That's a great point, Chris. And I feel like the Bulls I don't think the Bulls were hated like some of those other dynasty teams, though, right? Like, everybody loved Jordan. You hated the Bulls?
I hated. Wow. I've never liked Jordan.
Wow.
Yeah.
I don't hear that very much.
I mean, I was too young. We were only like I was 10 when he won his final championship.
Yeah.
So I don't remember the hatred. I grew up loving him because my dad said how great he was, and I thought he was the greatest. But,
it was just because everybody loved him. Like, I mean, I guess that's why I'm part of this show. Like, I just didn't like Jordan and the Bulls because everybody else loved them. And I just chose to be different and just not like them. Like, I have nothing against Jordan, really. Everyone liked him, and then the Lakers got Kobe, and I was like, all right, let's go Kobe.
I think there's a sense of that a lot too. I think growing up, all we heard was Tom Brady. When he won his third, he won his fourth, and by 2010, we're like, fuck him. And then, but then you can't, when you mature and when you go more gambling central instead of team central, to me at least, I'm like, you can't hate the guy that has, like, we're seeing greatness. You're witnessing greatness. So I'm like, I mean, it pissed me off that he won that Falcons game because I had the fucking under. That's what pissed me off. But overtime was the only way I die. I don't care that he won. I just wanted it to not be down 38 to fucking 10 or whatever.
Dude, Tom Brady's an interesting one because there's a shitload of people that absolutely despise him, especially people that hate Boston. But I always loved Tom Brady mainly because he's from the Bay Area, San Mateo, which is pretty cool. So I that, and he was it's a classic underdog story. So I think he's a fucking stud, and it's now smashing an Instagram model that is like a 14,000 out of 10. So if you haven't seen that, look it up.
Wow,
I heard about it, haven't seen it.
Good.
But
I haven't seen it either.
Not like Brady. Matt, I feel like you didn't, maybe for a different reason, but I only just didn't like him because I wanted Joe Montana, to have the most rings. But at a certain point, I just respected it. Like, it wasn't like a hate. I just was like, no, like, I want Montana to be, the best. So it was just,
Joey Cheese says, Fuck Tom Brady.
Yeah, that's an interesting point, Kmart, that you when it's your guy whose like legacy is on the line, you kind of like hate anyone who approaches them, right? Like,
yeah, like in Randy Moss, when he came on and was putting up touchdowns, I was like, no, like you can't, like, not that I was rooting for an injury, but I was rooting for a couple bad years because, like, no, you can't break Jerry Rice's shit. And
nobody's breaking.
Honestly, the only reason he broke his touchdown record is because he had 16 games. Jerry Rice did it in 12.
Right.
Like, so I mean, there's an asterisk there, and always will be for me.
Kind of like the Dodgers World Series.
I mean, it's the toughest World Series to ever win, so that's fine.
Oh God, that is a load of shit.
Everyone's well rested.
The Rays were fucking
have to go through a bunch of fake COVID.
Yeah, and your team, like fucking Kershaw, didn't get time to get tired and blow the playoffs like that. That was the only year he was decent.
Dude, he's 80 years old and he's still pitching great. He still has like a 2.
Let's see what happens in October.
Bye, Gloria. Love you.
That's just because they leave him in like past the 6. You got to pull him after 6 and just go to your bullpen. Like it's always 6 1/3 innings, then he gets dinged for 5 runs. Like I remember tracking it like 2 straight seasons. I'm like, this is where it happens. Pull him, boom, boom, boom.
Yeah. Well, they got to leave him in because that's when the fans in LA are filing in. Is about the 6th inning.
Bet poop.
Yeah, Matt and I know all about that.
Oh my God. Well, hey, that was a fun topic. I feel like we should revisit that with people that we have on and just kind of figure out where they are. I mean, we didn't even really get into it. I could save it for another time, but talk about fluidity of hatred, right? Like Vegas Golden Knights have only been around. Oh yeah. Hey, Dave
St.
coming
John
in
Bosco's
from the rooftops.
Shit school.
St. John Bosco. Yeah. Fuck that.
Fuck them and every quarterback that's came out of there. Josh
Rosen.
Thank you, Dave. Thank you for that. That's
also fuck Boise State and their blue stupid Smurf turf. Fuck them. Cocksuckers.
Doesn't Texas Tech or someone have a red turf too?
No, that's a D2 school that has a red one. I think it's Delaware, like red hens or some shit.
Yeah, maybe.
Eastern Washington has a red one too, right? I think.
Or no, yeah, you're right, Matt. It's Eastern Washington.
Duck Court.
Yeah, the Duck Court, the forest.
I think Oregon. Real quick, Oregon's pretty hateable.
Yeah,
because all their stupid
if
fucking
they could win, I hate them.
Again, they don't win, so it's just laughable.
I know, but they have all those stupid jerseys, and there's like so many people that are like, oh, look at another tweet of another jersey. I saw their hockey jerseys on Twitter. I'm like, who gives a fuck? Nobody.
And Dylan Brooks came from Oregon, so they gotta own that idiot.
Yeah. What about Penn State for allegations?
For allegation purposes.
Love you, Joe.
There's always a guy named Jerry.
Jesus. All right. Fun topic. We'll revisit definitely going forward when we have some people on. But real quick before we get out of here, we want to plug something we're going to do in June. This is called MLB 3 Strikes Survivor for the dogs. And so the idea is pretty simple. We're going to start getting signups probably next week. This is a month-long Major League Baseball Survivor format starting June 1st. The idea is that you're going to pick one team every day to win. And if your team wins on the day you picked them, then you survive to the next day, and now you can no longer choose that team again. So it runs just like an NFL weekly Survivor, except it's daily in June. And Chris, we see big money line favorites in Major League Baseball go down all the time. So this is going to be really difficult.
If you last longer than Chris, you win a prize.
Yeah, that's right.
So that doesn't take much, about 2 minutes.
Yeah. So because Chris will pick poop June 1st and he might lose. So so the gimmick though with this one is it's three strike Survivor baseball themed. So you do get 3 lives. So on your 3rd loss, you are eliminated from the competition. So the way we're going to run this, it's a $30 entry fee, 30 days in June. And we'll set up a Venmo here and we'll get that. We'll get the details out to everybody next week. So what we're going to do is the vast
multiple entries.
No multiple entries. No, we don't want to keep
what if I
track.
want to donate more to the dogs?
Yeah.
Donate more to the
You
dogs.
can donate more. You could enter 90 if you want, but no, one person, one entry. Because otherwise it'll get too crazy. We got a small team here, but so we're going to take the vast majority of the entry money. We're going to donate it to charity. We're looking at a couple animal organizations to donate to. So in a perfect world, we're going to get more than 30 signups and have almost $1,000 in our entry pool. We'll still kick some money to the winner. We want to fire that. We want to give the winner a free bet on an underdog, keeping with the dogs theme. And but probably 80-90% of the pot we want to be able to donate to a good cause. So we're kind of finalizing that hopefully here in the next few days. So I think it'll be a good time. We're going to try to get some of our more well-known friends of the show to join, and people who are in the gambling space, and open it up to friends and family too. So if you are interested in that, that is going to be called MLB 3 Strikes Survivor. Shoot us a DM at Fade U Sports, and we'll start getting people signed up next week. And Dads, I think it'll be a good time.
Yeah, I'm excited.
We got to set some odds on who's going to last the longest.
I just want to make it June 4th.
Yeah, next week's show. Now it's going to be tough because there are slower days on the MLB schedule, right? Mondays usually have less games.
Mondays and Thursdays.
Yeah. Mondays and Thursdays. So that's going to be a little bit tricky. We might have to pull those schedules so that people can maybe plan in advance. But I think the strategy here is just going to be survive one day at a time.
Yeah.
And then, you've got a couple of lives that you can use up if you really get in a pickle. But yeah, it's going to be tough. But it'll be a fun way to engage with baseball and get some followers in a contest that we thought up, and hopefully give a nice chunk of money to a good cause. So that's really what we want to start doing here at Fade U. So keep an eye out for all that information coming out, hopefully this weekend, early next week. And that about does it, Dads. How the Lakers looking so far?
Doesn't start till 5:30.
Oh, 5:30. Okay, 5:30. Chris has got time to get to the bar.
Good. They're making shots in warm up. They're making layup.
Okay. Hey,
one quick complaint about the NBA. Start the fucking games on time. Every other sport does. NBA's like, we'll just do it between 7 and 20 minutes later. Just tell us the late time then. Say it's 5:45. I fucking hate that.
I mean, the NHL,
not even a real sport anyways.
NHL
Carolina,
does
Florida,
a little late too.
I see a 5 p.m. start, and I don't have a score yet. It's 5:10. So I feel like that is a good complaint. That's valid, Joe. But I think every league should get their shit together. Start shit on time. Chris, remind everybody what happens sometimes when you bet on poop.
You might bet on the 8 seed Heat last night and win moneyline plus 325. Don't do what Sean does and tease down.
Love it.
I actually had 69 on that to pay out like